Oklahoma Gardening is one of the longest running gardening television shows, and over the years we have done multiple segments about various projects. Keeping in mind that 20 years ago is the best time to plant a tree, we thought it would be fun to revisit a tree segment from 1994. At that time, host Steve Dobbs visits with urban forester Mark Bays about a tree planting project at the recently developed Stillwater Public Library. Over the past 2 decades, both Mark and Steve have become prominent figures and experts in their field. We were excited that they hadn't forgotten their roots and they were still willing to come back and revisit one of their earliest projects.
We're at the latest welcome into Stillwater, and that's the City Library. And joining me is Mr. Mark Bays of the Oklahoma Department of Agricultural Forestry Services. And you know, when we think about forestry, we think a lot about timber production and the commercial aspect, but Mark, there's really a lot more to it from an urban aspect, and that's really evident here at the new library.
That's right.
Tell me what you think about the planting of trees here and what kind of benefits we're going to see.
Well, Mark Bays, long time no see.
Where you been, man, for the last 28 years?
Can you believe it?
God.
And here we are back in Stillwater, Oklahoma at the Stillwater Public Library, where you and I did a segment 28 years ago, hard to believe.
Yeah. I got the same shirt on.
I see that.
Same pants. What about you?
Well, just don't ask me to take my hat off.
Okay.
But we're back here, and it really is remarkable to see how the trees have matured at this
Everything.
time.
It's just, you know, that old anecdote about the best time to plant a tree was 28 years ago,
Yes.
Second best time is now. And it's really nice to come back and visit and see all that forethought that they put into this design.
Same location. We talked about right tree, right place, right location, and we talked specifically about the low area here, how it would hold water, and the ball cypress trees. What do you think?
It's right tree, right place.
Yes.
And that was just something that we were talking about, spacing them out, giving them plenty of room to grow, because when they were planted, they were just like 2-inch small trees and everything, but they thought long term. They thought 28 years ago. Same thing with the Japanese maple planted over here in the shadow and everything. It's nice to see that one still doing well.
Yeah, a lot of the trees have matured, and of course, think about what all has happened over 20 years with the trees, not only for you and I, but with the trees, the ice storms, the heat, but it still looks great, and we really focused on that proper planting at that time. Do you remember specifics on that?
Yeah, choosing the right tree, planting it correctly, mulch, and then the after maintenance. The easy thing was getting the trees in the ground, but then having that sufficient amount of mulch around that tree, and then having it enough on a regular watering schedule for at least 3 years or so, and they've done a great job.
And I think that's the surprising thing for most homeowners is they think, oh, let's just go plant a tree and really forget about it, and we alluded to that, but there's work to getting it established, and it takes 3 years, you say, for most of them to be established.
About 1 year for every inch in caliper.
Right.
And so these were 2 to 3 inches when they went in, so about 3 years. You really have to watch it really closely.
And they were ball and burlap, and I know you would emphasize again today that this hasn't changed, but wide hole?
Yes, wide at least 2 to 3 times the diameter of the hole. And you don't want to dig it any deeper than the root ball is, because you don't want that tree to settle in. And more trees, we've really found out, have died because they've been planted too deeply rather than just a little bit shallow.
And with the ball and burlap or container grown, quick tips on what do you do? Do you leave the burlap on? What do you do? Because
well, I've been saying for the last 28 years, cut it off. There's been some people in the industry that says we don't have to cut it off, but it's really just like, it's like a package around that tree. It's like getting a Christmas present and playing with it, you know, with the wrapping paper on it. No, go ahead and cut it off, at least half the root ball, take half the wire basket off, and you really want to get rid of that.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think we found more success with that as well in establishment. What's most exciting though, we talked about how trees are beneficial, and we've always known that, but now there's proof to show that, isn't there?
A long time ago, we talked about the carbon storage, we talked about the air quality, but in the last 28 years, there's been so much research out there that just showcases the value that trees provide for carbon storage, for properly planted trees. If you were just to go out, it reduces your heart, it reduces stress, it improves your human health, And there's a lot of this research that's out there right now that you can find on a website. We only had brochures back then, but they have these websites out, Healthy Trees, Healthy Lives, and it's a place where you can go and learn about all the health benefits that trees provide.
Right. Now you've done your homework. Here we are several years later. You know the value of these trees, right?
Yes. Yeah, so you can go to another website. It's called iTree Design, and you can go on that website. You can put in your address at your home, kind of scary, but you can look at your trees, you can plant trees, and you can forecast the value that those trees are going to have. So I kind of backdated this planting project and everything, and so for the last 25 years or so, these trees have provided $5,000 in environmental benefits.
Wow. And a homeowner, again with planting trees, really March is the best time to do that, is it not?
That's why we celebrate Arbor Week, last week in March. Get trees in the ground. It's a perfect time to be out planting trees. Really all winter is good, but we focus it during Arbor Week, which is the last full week in March.
And do you have one last thing you'd like to tell homeowners on that website again, where to find that? Because that's intriguing that I can go as a homeowner and now tell what I'm doing in my own urban forest.
Through Google Earth imaging, you can go in on iTree Design website, type in your street address, and your house will come up. And then you can look, and if you're thinking about planting trees, which really it's a useful tool, because you can plant a young tree, you can plant a shoe-marred oak, a bald cypress, anything like that. And then there's this growth component to that.
Wow.
You can grow the tree for 20 or 30 years, and then so if you're wanting to plant it right here, and you grow it for 20 years, and you say, wait a minute, it's grown into my house, the power line, something like that, you can say, maybe I need to change this.
Yeah, which most people get things too close to their homes anyway.
All the time.
So a lot has changed, technology's changed. What do you think will happen in the next 20 years? Do you think you and I can make it?
Give me a call. I'll be here. I'll wear the same shirt and everything.
Let's be back in 20 years. Good to see you, Mark.
You too, man.
To see this video and others from previous hosts, visit our OkGardening Classics YouTube channel. We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OkGardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.